We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanau Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are studying Panchadasi, chapter 3, Pancha Kosha Viveka Prakaranam. We have finished 13 verses out of 43 verses. We have 30 more verses to go. This chapter is focused on revealing the true nature of our own self. And it is using the text, the Shruti, which is Taittiriya Upanishad. So we have studied so far the Pancha Koshas, and we have seen why the Pancha Koshas is not my real self. The main thing we should remember is, in our experience, we feel that there is some invariable, changeless factor in all of us. Right from the beginning, from our birth till date, there is some changeless factor. Body is changing, mind is changing. What we regard as ourself is only these two, either the body or the mind. The rest of the things is the world. The world is not me is very clear, because I am different than the world. The body is different, therefore the world, I am different than the world. But in this body, what the scriptures are teaching me is there is a changeless factor, which in Bhagavad Gita language of chapter 2, it's called as Dehi, the indweller in this body. Normally, we take the ego, I, as the indweller. But according to scriptures, the ego I is a changing I. It is not the changeless I. The scriptures are only trying to remove the covering of the ego I, and they are revealing the truth of whatever is existing. The scriptures will only give us what our anubhava is. It will use reasoning in the style of the Shruti, not my own reasoning, which is the reasoning based on the perception with the 5 sense organs. There are 2 types of reasoning: Shruti-based reasoning and sense organs-based reasoning. Shruti always gives us a reason which reveals the truth. But my mind's orientation is whatever I perceive is the truth. This is exactly where the Shruti is diametrically opposite to our sense organ perception. How do I resolve what the Shruti is saying and what my sense organs are perceiving? That is the biggest challenge for every seeker. Once this challenge is, this obstacle is gone, then it is very easy for a seeker. The Shruti says you are all, everything is in you. The moment I wear the reasoning cap of the Shruti, I will be able to see what the Shruti is revealing to me as the ultimate reality. Panchadasi is a text where the Acharya, the teacher, uses reasoning as followed by the Shruti so that we can see what the Shruti is revealing. The truth of the Shruti cannot be changed by anybody because this is a paurusheya vishaya. The objects of the world can be known by the sense organs. But who is knowing the sense organs, if you ask? That can be a matter not in the scheme or in the realm of the sense organs, but it is something beyond the sense organs. There is only one source of knowledge which can give us the knowledge about the subject I, which is behind the sense organs. Whenever I am inquiring who am I, the question is not related to the ego I. The ego I disappears in sleep state. That is the first realization when one studies Mandukya Upanishad. Mandukya Upanishad tells us, do not confine your conclusion about your own self only by analyzing the waking state, because that is a state where the sense organs are predominant. So this chapter takes one kosha by kosha, the dress. Kosha means a dress, a covering. I cover my body with 4 or 5 layers if I'm staying in a cold place. I put a over jacket, I put a coat, I put a shirt, I put other dresses to keep myself warm. This Atma is covered by the 5 dresses which I wear. I have to unravel these dresses and see the real I. The 5 koshas are Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. We have covered 13 verses. Today we'll go into the 14th verse. We have given an introduction last week to this verse. I will quickly play this verse and then we'll continue.
Madhuryadisvabhavanam Madhuryadisvabhavanam Anyatra svagunarpinam Anyatra svagunarpinam Swasmin tadarpanapeksha Swasmin tadarpanapeksha No na chastyanya No na chastyanya darpakam.
So in this verse, Vidyaranya uses an example, and then in the next verse, he will talk about the reality. Here he is talking about sweetness or bitterness. This we find naturally in the world of vegetables and fruits. Madhuryadi eva swabhavanam. Sugar, honey, jackfruit, sugarcane, jaggery, they all have different grades of sugar. Similarly, bitterness also, you have different grades in different fruits and vegetables. Anyatra swaguna arpinam. This sugar, it can impart its sweetness to other things which are not sweet. For example, milk is not sweet by itself. So you can add sweetness to milk and make kheer or paisam, which we have seen last week. So what it says is, what we should understand from this example, that the light of Atma is natural to it, and the knowledge is naturally shining in Atma. The knowingness of Atma can never go away. Like the sweetness, you take a sugar, sugar is always sweet. Whether it is in the daytime, nighttime, waking state, any other state, you go and it will always be sweet. So similarly, Atma is inherently of the nature of awareness. The moment I get up, I am aware of the world. The moment that I go to sleep, I'm aware that there is no world around me. But the awareness remains constant. This is exactly what I was saying in the introductory talk today, where I said there is something which is constant, which is not changing. It is this consciousness which is responsible for the cognition of the world. It is this consciousness which makes the mind work. Without the consciousness, mind has no power. As we see in sleep, what happens in sleep? The mind withdraws, means what? The power of the mind is gone. The power for me to sense the world is gone. When the power of the mind is gone, the power of the senses are gone. See how they are interlinked. But am I there or not in sleep? Yes, I am there as pure awareness. In the waking state with objects. In the dream state with another type of objects which are projected by the mind. In the sleep state, it is an object which is ignorance. So in three states, what what happens is awareness, consciousness is always existing. It is always there. Waking state, awareness is there. It powers the mind. Mind powers the sense organs experience the world of objects. The five sense objects are experienced, perceived by the five sense organs. The five sense organs are powered by the mind. And the mind gets its power from consciousness or awareness. Senses can't light up Atma because they are an effect, karyam. They are a product. Consciousness is the cause. And it is consciousness which proves the validity of the mind and the sense organs and the world. So ultimately, what is the proof that the world exists? What is the proof the world exists? It is not the sense organs. It is not the mind, but ultimately the proof of the world's existence is Chaitanya. Knower ever remains unknown. Knowingness depends on the Chaitanya. Knowingness means the light is falling on the mind. Then we become a knower. There is a unique beauty of this knower principle. So when I want to inquire, who am I? What is this world? The way to ask, inquire is, what in me is the knowing principle which knows the body, which knows my emotions, and which knows the outer world. Knowability is the proof of existence. Knowability is not the proof of knowledge of consciousness. Self-experience is self-shining. We have seen in the 10th chapter of the Panchadasi, one of the nature of consciousness is self-shining. It is ever known. It can never go, it can never be negated. Swasmin tade anapeksha. No need for sugar to become sweet from rice or wheat or milk. The sugar does not get drawn from the other objects. Sugar has its own sweetness. Similarly, consciousness has its own awareness. It need not get awareness or knowingness from another consciousness. Because the Shruti clearly says, Ekameva Advitiyam Brahma Asti. One consciousness alone exists. Are there two consciousness? My sense organs cannot say yes or no. Like, I can't use my ears to know what the color of an object is. Similarly, to know whether there are two consciousness or one consciousness or every body has one consciousness, the only source is the Shruti. Shruti means the Upanishads. This is where the Tarka Shastra has gone wrong. The Nyaya school, Vaiseshika school, Yoga school, they have all taken logic, Tarka as the primary source. Vedanta takes Veda as the primary source. So when you take the Veda as a source, it says mind, senses, intellect, they do not have consciousness. This mind and the body is, and including the intellect, is made up of Prakriti. Prakriti means Pancha Mahabhutas, as we have seen in Tattvabodha. And Pancha Mahabhutas are inert by nature. So there is consciousness and there is inert world. Consciousness lends its knowingness to the body to experience the world of objects. Objects by themselves are inert. When I see you, I am not seeing the consciousness you. My eyes are only perceiving the body and the mind, which is basically inert by nature, but it is powered by consciousness. Now we come to the example. Now the example is over. Now we come to the actual principle, which is the consciousness.
Arpakantararahitye apyastesham tatsvabhavata मा भूत्तथानुभाव्यत्वं मा भूत्तथानुभाव्यत्वं बोधात्मा तु न हीयते बोधात्मा तु न हीयते.
So in the previous 11th or 12th verse, we have seen where an opposition or a Purva Pakshi came and said, there is no subject called consciousness because it is never seen. Then the teacher said, even if it is not seen, but if it is experienced, you can say it exists. The subject consciousness can never be seen, but all of us experience our own consciousness as what? I am, I am, I am. So if I am experiencing I am, the knowingness in me, the first thing I know is I know myself. That I know myself is the self-illumining consciousness. And that is the goal which we have to reach by dropping everything else in creation. Reach the final goal in me, which is the same substratum in the entire universe. Tattvamasi, the Mahavakya, clearly tells me that this self in me is Sarvatma self. It is one self where all the Atmas are in what? All the Jivas are situated where? When you sleep, when I sleep, when somebody else sleeps, where do they all go and reside? Not in the house, external house. The body itself is an external house, which will vanish one day. But the real Jiva, the indweller, is with pure consciousness, with the Lord. And that pure consciousness is the Lord in this body. That is what is being explained here. Self-awareness is intrinsically there even when it is not experienced as an object of perception or cognition, which is what is called as the sleep state. See, throughout our discussions, always remember one basic fundamental thing. We are talking about self-shining, effulgent principle. That is what is getting revealed. Everything else we have to drop. If you are able to catch that, then you have understood whatever Vidyaranya has to say in all the 15 chapters. Nothing can bestow consciousness to Atma. Arpa kanta rahityapi asti swabhavataha. Like you have natural sweetness in a sugar, mabhut tadano bhavyatamam. The sense organs cannot objectify consciousness. Why? Because bodhatma natu hiyate. The self is never lost. This consciousness never ends. That is what is called as bodha. Bodha means knowingness, knowledge. Jnana Swarupa Atma. Satchit Ananda Swarupam. That's what Taittiriya Upanishad says. Chit there stands for the Jnana Swarupa. So this feature of Atma, you can never drop. It's always there. Perceptibility of consciousness is not lost in spite of it being non-objectified in sleep. That is why we say in the sleep state, we experience nothingness. I don't know anything. That is what is called as ignorance. That is what is called as avidya. That is called as maya. It is a shakti. Many people don't understand what is this maya? What is this maya? I don't understand this maya. If you go through Panchadasi very clearly, you will have full knowledge about Maya principle. In every chapter, Vidyaranya Swami teaches us what is this Maya principle. Maya is a Shakti. Can you say that that I can see your speaking ability? No, because it is a Shakti. So Shakti or power can never be seen. Only its effect can be known. Fire, for example, you cannot see the fire, a flame, and say, yes, it has got Shakti. Only when it burns, you can say, yes, it has got the Shakti to burn. So similarly, consciousness in this body is a Shakti. It is the power of Maya. Shakti is a power of this consciousness. It can do anything in the world. It imparts the Shakti to the Panchabhutas, and then the Panchabhutas, they are the entire world. Yourself is the nature of the self-experience because you are of the nature of consciousness. Subject and object, what is the difference? Subject does not require objectification. Object requires to be known by a subject. There is no object in the world which we can say it exists unless until there is a subject which says, yes, I have seen this. For example, you can say the cosmos exists, so many billions of stars, they exist. That is a postulation by the scientists. They have seen, some astronomer has seen they have seen a galaxy of stars. Therefore, they believe there are so many billions of Milky Ways in this cosmos. So ultimately, the seer, that seer is the consciousness. Bodhatma does not lose its perceptibility because Atma's nature is consciousness, like the sugar's nature is sweetness. Pure amness pervades ignorance-based male or female. Ignorance is there in all the human minds about its nature. This ignorance is what we are trying to remove by this study of the scriptures. Existence and consciousness and bliss. These three words we use. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. All these three belong to the same reality. They are three facets of one reality. Existence is self-revealing, and what is self-revealing is existence. This is just a revision I have put in the notes. Right now, we don't need it because I have already revised most of their points which are here. So what is the conclusion we draw from the 15th verse? The self is of the nature of pure consciousness, without the objects. Why do we say that? Because in the sleep state, the self is there without any objects being identified by the consciousness. Second point is what? Self does not ever become the object because it is ever the subject. The mind becomes the subject for consciousness. The mind becomes an object for the consciousness, but it is a subject for the sense organs. You see, the mind has got dual role. The mind becomes a subject. That means the ego I says, I am seeing the world. The eyes are seeing the world. Eyes are known by what? By the mind. That mind is what? Ego I. But who knows the emotions in this mind? It is the Sakshi. We have seen this in Drigdrishya Viveka. Self need not be an object of consciousness because it is always self-effulgent. Third point. It is always available as self-evident, pure consciousness. It need not be an object for the consciousness. That is what is the third point. The fourth point is it is self-evident. Self shares knowledge, awareness with the mind and the senses. These are all the points we have seen so far in the last 2-3 verses. The senses, mind can't hold the consciousness because they are ever fleeting. The mind is changing rapidly. That is the nature of the mind. What can we do? It thinks about one object, another suddenly it will think of another object. You're holding your mobile, suddenly you're reading what's the WhatsApp message, suddenly the phone rings, you take up the call, and then suddenly somebody calls you from outside. See, these are all how the sense organs and the mind work in this world. The one word which tells you all about the mind and the sense organs is chanchalam. Lord Krishna uses this very beautifully in the 6th chapter, where Arjuna says very clearly, my mind is chanchalam. It is never firm. It is never sthira prajna. It is chanchalam prajna. But what is sthira prajna is sakshi. That is what we are trying to understand. What is that sthitham, which is always there, changeless in nature? That is the awareness principle. So even in meditation, ultimately, where are we reaching? We are reaching the pure source of all cognitions of the 5 sense organs and the mind. Is it nothingness? No. That nothingness is what Vedanta calls it as consciousness. Many people mistake the nothingness to be zero. Nothing means there is non-existent. This is where Vedanta says, take the help of the Shruti. It will say that nothingness is also witnessed by a light of awareness. That light of awareness is me, the Atma. So the ability to hold awareness depends on the nature of the body, senses, mind, and intellect. With consciousness alone, we do all the vyavahara. Vyavahara means transactions. What will the ego I tell Sakshi? Suppose you have a conversation in your mind between that knower I, which is knowing the world, and the Sakshi, which is knowing the mind. Suppose we have seen such conversations in chapter 10 of the Panchadasi. Vidyaranya is very famous for that. What will it say? This mind or the ego will say, from you only I am born, from you only, in you only I am staying, and in you only I resolve every night. This is the internal talk which is different than the external talk with the world. Normally, we will find that the mind is talking inside. But if you observe carefully, that talk is of the objects of the external world. What should I be doing tomorrow morning? What will, when that phone call was supposed to come from my son, but he didn't call me yesterday. All these are all talk which is inside. This talk which goes on inside is a talk of the ego I. And who is observing this talk? Who is knowing this talk? Suppose I close my eyes and I am able to listen to this internal talk. That listener of this internal talk is the consciousness. So these are the 11 points we have come to know with reference to the reasoning part, yukti part, related to Sat. See, we are analyzing in these verses the existence and the consciousness principles, Sat, Chit, Ananda. That is the topic we are taking up now. After negating the 5 koshas, what we have to do is accept, first of all, there is Atma with the nature of Sat, Chit, Ananda. And what is this Sat, Chit, Ananda is what we are seeing in these verses. Now, the next few, this 16th verse gives the Shruti, the proof from the Shruti about this Atma. Like I said before, the only source for consciousness, for our real nature, which is the reality, only source is the scriptures. Here we are going to see which are those mantras which talk. There are many hundreds of mantras. I have, here I just try to put some verses which are given by Vidyaranya in his textbook itself. Let's listen to the verse.
Swayam Jyoti Bhavatyesha Swayam Jyoti Bhavatyesha Puro Asmad Bhasate Akhilat Puro Asmat Bhasate Akhilat Tameva Bhantamanveti Tameva Bhantamanveti Tadbhasa Bhasyate Jagat Tadbhasa Bhasyate Jagat.
There are 3 Upanishads which are quoted by Vidyaranya: Brihadaranyaka, Narsimha Uttara Tapaniya Upanishad, which we normally don't refer to, but it's something which Vidyaranya is referring here. Mundaka Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, Svetasvatara Upanishad. What are these mantras which are all put here? I won't go into the details of this. The first, this mantra, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, talks about the 2 boards. See how the Upanishad describes the waking world and the dream state. And it says that the sleep state is junction between the waking state and the dream state. Like we have in a house, before there is at the doorstep, what will you call that? It is in between the external house and internal house. So that in between nature is what is called as the sleep state. Now, this jiva, who is in the middle in the sleep state, he surveys 2 abodes. One is the waking state, another is the dream state. In the waking state, there is joy and sorrow. And then in the dream state is nothing but it is impressions of the waking state itself. Whatever you have enjoyed in the dream and in the waking state comes also in the form of dream state. There also you enjoy sukham and dukkham. And then what happens to him? After some time, he puts down both the states. He doesn't want to dream. He doesn't want to be in the waking state. And then what happens? Here it says, Atraye Purusham Swayam Jyoti Bhavati. In that state, when the jiva is not in the dream state or in the waking state, that state is called as Swayam Jyoti Sarupa Turiyam. This is from Vedantic Upanishads, Swayam Jyoti Brahmana, which is the 4th chapter, on which the 10th chapter of the Panchadasi was based, this particular mantra. It is always self-effulgent. So if you want to study what is the self-effulgent nature a little bit more detail, you have to study the 4th chapter of Vedantic Upanishad. There are several sections in that, self-effulgent nature. We will also be studying that in the Saturday classes when we do the Vedantic Upanishads. Mundak Upanishad, very famous mantra. It's this is a Mahavakya of the Mundak Upanishad. It says that this self is first of all immortal. Amrutam. Amrutam means immortal. Because why it is immortal? It doesn't have birth. It doesn't have death. If I know this Brahman, that is what Taitra Upanishad says, Brahmavida apnoti param tadesham yuktam. The knower of Brahman, the knower of this light of consciousness, which is self-effulgent, he or she becomes immortal. Because you have crossed the body and the mind. The moment you have transcended the body and mind, you are in the lap of Ishvara. Even Ishvara has no choice but to take you. Because you have dropped this world of falsity, mithyatva world. That is what we are going to see in today's meditation. Brahmai va idam amrutat purastat brahma pashad brahma dakshinata atosha urdvam cha prasrutam brahmai vedam vishwamidam varishtam. The entire world is in this Brahman, in this light of consciousness. Kathopanishad and Svetasvatara Upanishad, they have this beautiful mantra which we sing all the time when we do the Aarti in the temple. Very famous mantra, na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. In that light of consciousness, neither the sun can shine, neither the moon can shine, neither the stars can reveal that self. Why? Because sun, moon, and the stars or the lightnings are objects for that light. That light of the Lord, which we call it as Brahman, that light first shines. After that, only everything else shines after him. Very beautiful mantra for meditation. You can just sit down and say, ultimately, at the end of your meditation, whatever meditation you are doing, you can chant this mantra internally. You can by heart this mantra first. Many of you know already this. If you don't know, by heart this. It's a very, very popular mantra, and it is a very useful mantra for meditation. One of the best mantras for meditations. Any meditation you do, in the end, chant this mentally. Tatra Suryo Bhati. There the sun never goes. Because you are in that light of consciousness. In that light of consciousness, consciousness alone is. That's all. And then you remain in that state of pure bliss. This Atman in deep sleep exists when the Nama Rupa Prapanchas are withdrawn. What is the essence? Gold is the essence. What is the ring, chain, bangle? All these are Nama Rupa, name and form given to gold. Similarly, consciousness is the ultimate reality. What is the body? What is Venkatesh, or what is Rohit, or what is Vijaya, or what is all this? They are all names given to bodies. This body has got this name. This body has got this name. It is name and form. Does the mind have any name? No, the mind itself has no gender. Mind is beyond gender. And Atma is something beyond the mind. So this Atma is something which is pure light of consciousness, pure existence. So we can never say that the senses help us to know the self. It is the self which helps to know the mind and the senses. So when we tread inside our mind, we have to drop all the objects and then hold on to this type of Shruti statement, which says, I am the pure light of consciousness, which is the knowingness, the amness in this body. And that is also called as Nitya Sakshi. Why it is Nitya Sakshi? Nitya means ever there. Why is it ever there? Because it's nature. Why sugar sweet? It is its nature. It will never go. This Sakshi will never go. That's what I am. What happens to this body? Yes, body is there for some time in the waking state, yes, but not in the dream state, not in the sleep state. But I am there always. That is the invariable factor, which the Upanishad Panchadasi wants to reveal after the 5 koshas. It is so clear to me now, very clear. That is how you realize this truth. In the class, in this session itself, you should say, yes, I understand, so clear. I am there. In what form? In the form of a light. Light means what? Knowingness. That knowingness is what I am. Surya, Chandra, Agni does not help you to know the self. What helps you to know the self? Shruti. It is these statements from Mundaka Upanishad, Svetasvatara Upanishad, Vedantic Upanishad. There will be so many Upanishads, Tattvamasi, Chandogya Upanishad. So no external light knows the self. In the deep sleep state, we are not dead, but we are pure consciousness. After the body leaves, the body is only an external dress, Annamaya Kosha. When the body leaves, it is dropped by the mind. The mind itself is dropped by Ishvara. for every jiva in the sleep state. The on-off switch for the waking and sleep and the dream state is with Ishvara. That switch is not with the individual body, individual mind. That switch is what is called as Ishvara. And Ishvara's form is, he is pure light. Shunyavadan says, I am gone. Nothing exists when there is no, in the sleep state, nothing exists, including me. There is no existence at all. We are not there as mother, father, but what Vedanta says is, we are there as pure consciousness. The awakened I, the Sakshi I, alone can tell us that the small ego individuality was not there in the sleep state. That limited I, which was attached to the body, doing so many activities, small activities, not very big activities. Each and every body can do only limited small activities because the mind is limited. It can only think one thought at a time. But it is a series of thought. It is limited. So we have a concept of ourselves as a male, female, American, Indian, Singaporean, African, Jewish, whatever it is. All this is there only with the help of a mind. And when the mind is there, body is there. In the deep sleep state, how did you know yourself? I, the waker and the dreamer, was not there. I did not take the help of the mind. With the mind, I can only know concepts. It is good, it is bad, it is right, it is wrong. With eyes, I can see only objects. When the Karanam, the instruments are not functioning, I, the self, Turiyam, am always there, which Turiyam is a word used in Mandukya Upanishad, which you have all seen with me. The small I requires the support to know the senses and the mind. It requires the light of consciousness to shine in the mind. That is what we call it as reflected consciousness. So that's all about the sleep state. Muktiko Upanishad gives names of 108 Upanishads, 4 Vedas and the Shanti mantras. If you want to know the names of 108 Upanishads, you can study Muktiko Upanishad. 108 Upanishad names are given. It gives the name of the 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharvana Veda. And then it tells you what are the Shanti mantras which are there in all these 108 Upanishads. What are the Shanti mantras? Because they are all divided as per the Rig Veda, or it is the 4 Vedas. The 4 Vedas have got the Shanti mantras. Some of the Vedas, they have got Krishna Yajurveda, Shukla Yajurveda. There are 1 or 2 different categories in them. So Sri Rama told Hanuman, you study 108 Upanishad to know the self. Then Hanuman said, oh no, 108, it will take many births. Then Rama said, okay, you study 10. Then ultimately he said, study 1 Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad. You will know all the essence of all the other Upanishads. Mandukya Upanishad is the shortest of the Upanishad with 12 mantras. This is just a side thing which I told you. Narsimha Tapaniya Upanishad. This is I couldn't get the actual mantra of this. It's not given here, but you may be able to search in the web and get this mantra. But what it says is, Atma shines by itself before creation. And before creation, there was no sun, moon, light, and others. This is from Narsimha Tapani Upanishad. It's available, but I think I forgot to put that mantra here. In deep sleep state, without the assistance of anything, Atma shines by itself, which is Swayam Jyoti. It is very similar to Swayam Jyoti mantra, which we have seen, very similar to that Natatra Surya Bhat. So even in Mahapralaya means what? Macro cosmic resolution. You see, when we go to sleep, it is called as Nidra. Pralaya means when the whole world goes according to the Shruti. Yeah? There is a time when you will not have a world at all. And then the next creation starts. But even in that, during that Mahapralayam, this light of consciousness is there. That is what is the beauty of this pure self. This I have already explained, I consciousness, then it shines first, and then only this body, mind, intellect shines. Shining in Vedanta means it is cognized. As soon as I get up, what happens? I don't say that the mind is shining. I say I am able to cognize the mind, cognize my sense organs, and they are illumined by the consciousness. The knowability of the mind and the knowability of the sense organs is called as shining. Bhasate. So pure awareness exists without the world. This we know from the Shruti. After the manifestation of the world, awareness is mixed. It is reflected awareness. That is why in the waking state, it's very difficult for us to know and segregate the consciousness from the body and mind. Very difficult. That is why the Shruti says, go back and study your dream state and the sleep state. Then you will be able to know what is consciousness. Understanding this phenomena of pure consciousness is what is called as moksha, liberation. Liberation from the sorrow in this body. Because we have crossed the body and the mind and transcended to this higher level. The knowingness is not a part of the world, but it is an independent principle. Chaitanya is independently existing, sentient principle. What about the world? World is a dependent principle. It depends on the 5 elements, which are jadam, and it depends on the consciousness existence for its knowingness. The mind is like a mirror, shining mirror. It captures the light of consciousness and makes that light sense organs function and experience the world. Like the bulb, the electricity goes into the tungsten glows, and then we can see the whole room bright. I can do a lot of activity. Similarly, each one of us, when we get up in the morning, that mind, tungsten, remember, it glows. And then you see the body. Then you see all the sense organs of the world. Your room is available. Your body is there. Then you see, you can think thoughts. So what is the electricity principle in this body? It is the Chaitanya. Dakshinamurti's Stotram, the 4th mantra, describes this whole process very beautifully. Nana chit ghado darastita maha deepak prabhavaswaram jnanam yasya tu chakshuradi karanat dwara bahi spandate janamiti tameva antam anubhati te stam jagat tasmai Sri Guru Murtiye namaha. That is the namaskaram we do to the Chaitanya. Every day when we do namaskaram to the Lord in a temple, you realize there is a higher principle beyond the form of the Venkateshwara which I see, or the Krishna or the Devi which I see in the temple, in the idol. That is what is called as the Chaitanya. So the world stands illumined because of consciousness. Narasimha Tapaniya Upanishad says, before the world came, consciousness was shining, like Sadeva Saumya Idam Agre Asi. The world is lit and it is unlit. That is what I said. Manifest, unmanifest. Unmanifest is what we experience in sleep, darkness. So what is that switch? That switch is lying with whom? With Ishvara. Do I control? I is the ego. Consciousness is always there. Ishvara is always there. But the world and this body may not be experienced as like in the sleep state. Purva Pakshi was the Buddhist who said that beyond the 5 koshas is the shunyam. Vedanta says experiencer subject is different from the 5 koshas. 5 koshas are the dress. Shastra classifies our experiences and shows that we are not any of these koshas. We are all searching for that ananda. You see, we experience ananda, fleeting happiness in this world. Swayameva anubhutitva. It is already experienced bliss if we are able to drop the dresses. Dropping the dresses is a challenge. That is why we study this Panchadasi. So the proof of existence is ever there in the subject. It is not in the object outside. Self is always self-luminous. That's all we should remember. Next week, we'll do this 17th mantra. It's the style of this chapter is it will ask questions, it will give answers, it will give reasons, and then ultimately it will make our mind accept consciousness. That is the beauty of Panchadasi. Okay, so with that we finish Panchadasi chapter 3 today. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. There are no comments on the chat box. I will ask Shanmugam to unmute. You can all unmute yourself if you have a question to ask. Anybody has a question?
Secretary,
Babu bhai, bolo.
in the last week's meditation, you were saying something like, what is our goal in life?
Yeah, the goal in life is basically to know that there is the light of Atma in myself. And to claim this Atma as my real nature. See, I know that I have this body. I know I have a mind. I have emotions. But who is this I? You see, I cannot be this body because this body will be gone. But I am always there. Because Shruti, Bhagavad Gita says, in this body there is a Dehi. Dehi means it is the Atma. It is the indweller in this body, which is always there. It is an immortal self. So the goal of life is to understand this I, which is revealed to me by Bhagavad Gita. It is revealed to me by Ishvara himself. He says, come on, look inside you. I am there. So our goal should be always, have I discovered this Ishvara in this body? Yes, if I have discovered it, very good. If I'm still in the path, you say, okay, I'm still in the path. I will know. One day I will know. So go with that confidence that this goal of life is mine. I will achieve it, Each one of us can do it.
So it is not moksha, most of them say.
See, moksha means what? See, today, what is the meaning of moksha? I think that this body is me, therefore I am saying I am mortal. I will die one day. And then I will not be there at all. But this is not the truth. This is what you should know. I will not be there is not the truth. Body will not be there is the truth. But I, the consciousness, will be there. Then you will ask me, how is it possible? There's so many people who have passed away in this life. Are they still there? Then the Guru will say, yes, they're all there. If you think that you are the body, then they are not there. If you think that they were the body, they are not there. But if you think that they are the light of consciousness, they are still there. Nobody dies. Body dies. Everybody dies. Everybody dies means what? Every body dies. Nobody dies means what? No consciousness dies. Nobody means the consciousness. That consciousness, how can you say it exists after the death of the body? Then I will ask the question, how do you know you are there in the sleep state? Are you there or not? Yeah, of course. Don't ask me such simple questions. Everybody knows the answer. So similarly, when the Shruti, when the Bhagavad Gita says, I am giving you a simple answer without the body, you are there. You believe me and you lead your whole life. And that is what is called as Jivan Mukta. That is what is called as Moksha. Very simple, isn't it?
But even though if we get moksha, we still have to come back.
No. Moksha means, when you talk about technically what is moksha, moksha means right now you understand that I am the consciousness, I am one with Ishvara. What is the definition of Ishvara? Ishvara is the Jagat Karanam. What is the definition of consciousness? Consciousness is Jagat Karanam. That means it is the cause of the whole universe. So moksha means what? It is Nitya moksha you are talking about. You are not talking about the moksha after death. You are not talking about moksha after studying all the 12 Upanishads, I will have my moksha. No, we are talking about you are ever free. Before knowledge also I was free when I was in ignorance. But after knowledge, when the Shruti tells me clearly, this is moksha, this is what you are, only I have to go through the 3 states and identify the changeless consciousness in the 3 states. You see, that is where you have to study. When you study and you say, yes, I understand now, I'm talking about not moksha after death of the body. That is at a junior level. For people to come to this level, higher level, to become senior students, then the Guru will say, this moksha is not videha mukti, it is not jivan mukti, but it is nitya mukti. Nitya mukti means ever-free status of a jiva. That is said to the senior students. And you say, yes, I accept it. And this is what we are. See, the beauty is, if you keep on doing this meditation, which I taught you today, your own mind will accept what I'm telling you and what the Shruti is telling you. Because it is only a covering in the mind. It is only a small notion which you have to remove. And then you are free. Okay, anybody else has a question? Thank you, thank you. Anybody else? How to get rid of the mind fluctuation, chanchalatvam, unnecessary emotions? Lord Krishna said by practice of vairagya you can control, but how practically we have to implement this? Very good question, Akshay. What Arjuna's question, you're asking me the same question. I have no other answer but what Lord Krishna has taught. Whatever he has taught is what I'm going to repeat. You also have said the right answer, practice and vairagya. I will tell you how this is achieved. See, this is achieved by in two ways. Practically, what can be done is, you can meditate that I am Atma. I have taught many meditations. Keep practicing whichever meditation you like, you practice it more. What scriptures, especially Panchadasi in the second chapter, says very clearly that when we practice, there are two problems which we all have. After, this is the question which is asked in the chapter 2, I think it is 64th verse or something. I was studying today. So there the question was asked, after I know that I am the Atma, how come we all are not able to reside in that? The student is asking, okay, I have studied 25 years Vedanta. Every time the teacher has said, this is Atma, this is Atma, this is Atma. I also have shook my head, yes, this is Atma, I agree. But my mind, even today, it goes out into the world and it is not able to hold on. So the question in that Panchadasi verse is that the Guru himself asked this in chapter 2. He says, okay, after having this so much of study, this is the second chapter, 74th verse, yeah? 74th verse, very important verse. You can all go back to Panchadasi and read this question and see what answer the teacher gives there. I will be doing it later on, but second chapter, I consider the 74th mantra the best verse in the entire Panchadasi 15 chapters. Very beautiful. It answers, Akshay, your question directly. You also study the second chapter and then you will get to know. See, what the answer given there is, there are only two reasons why you are not able to hold that Atma with you all the time. Only two reasons. This is said by Acharya, the teacher, Vidyaranya Swami. He says, number one is that your mind is chanchalam. You have got a thought, aham brahma asmi, I am Atma. But you have not spent time to hold on to that thought for a certain length of time. This is possible if you do dhyanam. So holding on to a thought means I am of the nature of pure consciousness. I am of the nature of pure consciousness. Repeating this for a certain length of time, maybe 5 minutes, during a meditation session, will make this thought a vasana. Repeated thinking of a certain idea, which is the truth. It is not something which is not that, it is not false. The world is false. Appearance of the body and all that is false. But you have not been able to hold on to the truth because of the other thoughts of the world coming and occupying your mind again and again. So this is where the problem lies. During meditation, like I said, this Omkara chanting and the meditation is one step behind this meditation which I am now talking. I am of the nature of pure light. I am of the nature of pure light. Hold on to this thought. Let this thought be a running thought throughout a tambura in your background. Let other thoughts of the world come and go. Whenever the other thoughts of the world come and go, you tell yourself, this is mithya. This is mithya. It is appearing. It is not non-existent. Mithya does not mean non-existent. It is appearance. It can be of so many things in my experiences. Yeah, I'm giving you, see, our waking state, we get carried away by our thoughts and emotions, literally carried away. And then we get into the world, we enjoy sukham or dukkham, and then we say, come back to our fulcrum again. And then we say, oh, it is this Maya which is responsible for this experiences of life. Why do we say Maya? Because I am aware of the Atma. Otherwise, I will not be saying it is Maya. I will say that is my real life. That is the difference between a Jnani and a Jnani. Jnani also has emotions. He also has chanchalatma of the mind. And he also goes out, not that he is thinking of Atma all the time, but this vasana of Atma this Brahma vasana has to be cultivated. So that is what is your direct one, the two reasons. Yeah, one reason is chanchalatvam, this not being able to hold on. Then the next one is samshaya. So Vidyaranya says there are only two reasons. One is you're not able to hold on to that. How do you hold on to the thought? Do dhyanam. Do dhyanam where you are deliberately bringing the thought and holding it. Let the thought not slip away. Yeah, let it. You become used to the holding on to that thought. Initially, it will be difficult, but when you practice abhyasa, it will become easy. So this, after 25 years also, if you don't do this, then you will say that the Shastra is something talking about Atma and all that. I don't think I can ever experience that in this life. I'll have to wait for the next 2-3 lives, and then I will find another teacher, and he will explain to me more brilliantly than Mr. Shekhar, and then I will realize. Okay, so the second one is he says samshaya. Samshaya is a doubt. Does Atma, this light, I don't see the light at all. Does it really exist? For samshaya, Vidyaranya Swami says in the 74th verse, he says, for samshaya, repeated listening of the scriptures is the only answer. Repeatedly listen, come on. Let it come to you from different Shrutis, Bhakyam, again and again. Say, yes, Sat exists. Sat principle is Atma. Atma exists. The more your mind hears this from the Shruti, and in chapter 2, I mean, Vidyaranya is amazing. He will prove to you by reasoning how Sat is there. Amazing reasoning. He goes to the depth of the mind, and says, come on, this is where you attack. This is where you attack. Through reasoning. It may be difficult for many of us, but then if you go slowly, if you go, that reasoning will strike your own intellect, and your own intellect will remove the ignorance once and for all. And then you will say, oh, that Sat which was told to me in Chandogya Upanishad, Vidyaranya took 100 verses to prove to me that Sat is existing. 109 verses in the second chapter of Panchadasi. I hope to take it one day for all of you, but then when the day comes, we'll see. But this is what is Vidyaranya. He doesn't leave it to the Upanishads to just say and then go away. Upanishad, that is the job of Upanishads. And for those who are interested to do the Upanishads, there are 3 ways in which you can study Upanishads. Number 1, just listen to a summary of all the 12 Upanishads, like how I am doing now. Number 2, you can do verse by verse commentary from some Acharya. You will find many talks, because there what happens is that particular Swamiji gives an explanation of what he has understood from that verse. This is the second method. Third method is very difficult. That method is find out who is teaching the Shankara Bhashya. Word by word, Shankaracharya has given a commentary on Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam, Parame Vyoman. Every word he has analyzed. Read a book which talks about Shankara Bhashyam's Taittiriya Upanishad on Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. It will give you, it will open up your intellect in such depth. It is amazing. So anyway, this is just a side point. So I've told you the second method is the 2 reasons I said why the mind can't hold is, one is that vasana has not become strong. Second is you have a lot of doubts. Both this can be attacked, and Vidyaranya Swamiji has given that ways to attack these 2. Okay, this is another thing. Yeah, Akshay, go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Along with practice, Lord mentioned Vairagya is very much needed, correct?
Yeah, Vairagyam is a result of Viveka. See, what happens is, the moment you say I am Atma, and it becomes a vasana in you, then what happens is, you get a Viveka Shakti. The mind gets a discriminative faculty, which was not there earlier. And this faculty is a strength. This strength comes only because of the study of the Upanishads and your practice of meditation. It is a strength of the mind, which you will know. The moment it comes to you, you will know. So Vairagyam is an automatic thing which will happen the moment you have Viveka. Viveka means what? Aham Satyam Jagan Mithya. Jagan Mithya is an appearance. The moment that Mithya nature comes, automatically Vairagyam will come. Vairagyam means you will withdraw from over obsession with the world. See, Vairagyam means not complete withdrawal. Not tomorrow and saying that tomorrow onwards I'm going to go run away and start studying the scriptures. No, that is not Vairagyam. Vairagyam is a result of Viveka Shakti. So it will come. Vairagyam will come by Atma, Anatma, Viveka, which will lead to Vairagyam. Then Vairagyam will lead to Shamadha, Shatka, Sampati and Mumuksha. So this is how the journey is for a seeker. All the seekers who are very, very intense seekers, I would say the most focus which you have to do is, what is this falsity which the Shruti is talking about as mithya? The word mithya has to be understood clearly. Satyam means something which exists in 3 periods of time. In the past, in the present, and in the future. When the body is not there, Satyam is there. Satyam means consciousness. That is the only thing which is there. Sat Chit Ananda. That is always there. Let it sink in you. This is told to me by the Shruti. I accept it and I have no doubt about it. Tell yourself, I have no doubt about it, because this is a problem of the human intellect. The moment you have said, I have no doubt about it, then you are already going in a fast lane in the spiritual journey. These are all small tips which we learn from acharyas like Vidyaranya. They are very useful techniques, very useful tips. And when you go through the Shankara Bhashyam, you get a lot of knowledge which you don't get otherwise. It's amazing the way he has analyzed, and it's, I mean, he can write a commentary on Satyam Jnana Parantam. He can write a long commentary, long commentary, analyze so deeply that your intellect will refuse to not to accept it. See? That is the way he has written. But it takes patience, it takes a long time also, but that is the ultimate. Okay, need to read chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita. Yes, Vijaya, I'm going to do a meditation on chapter 6 the following week. Next week, I'm going to do a meditation on Purusha Suktam.
Ah, that's good.
And the following week, or the following 1 or 2 weeks later, I have taken some 4 or 5 verses, including this Chanchalam verse from the Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter. We will do 3-4 verses of connected with this Chanchalatvam of Manaha as a meditation itself. We'll do it. Okay, Vishya Vasana is the cause, replace Jagat Astyam, and yeah, Vijay, your thought process is perfect. Okay, anybody else?
Secondly, yes, you were saying,
Yeah.
our mind accepts consciousness. How to know our mind will accept consciousness?
You try it. You try it. You don't doubt that. You see, people are talking about. You see that this is where it's called as samshaya, doubt. How? You only say to yourself, I am Chaitanya Sarupa. 10 times in a day, morning, as soon as you get up, Babu Bhai, you say to yourself, this has been taught to me by God himself in the Upanishads. I am not a dying body. I am immortal consciousness. Tell yourself 10 times. And see whether your mind accepts it or not. Next week, you will come back and say, I am repeating this the whole day nowadays. Yeah, Shama, tell me.
Thank you, Shikiji. As usual, absolutely wonderful session. And each time I listen to your sessions, you know, the Shraddha which you have, which initially, and I was just listening to all the conversation just now, and even Babu Bhai's this thing. So one of the major this thing about the Sanshaya is the Shraddha.
Yes.
So if in the very first instance, we just blindly, even if one needs to, just accept it,
Correct.
that what is being said in Shruti, what Guru is telling, what Shekharji is telling is 100% truth. And just don't allow, I mean, this is a bit of a forceful thing,
Yes.
which I realize that one has to. And the reason why we have difficulty is because our egos, ahamkara, is all the time coming and saying, rubbish, that's rubbish what Shekharji said.
Correct.
This is true. You know, you are Shama or who are Babu Bhai or whatever. So that is the difficult part. But
Correct.
I have told myself, no, You are listening to Shekharji. Shraddha is, tells you that Guru Vakasya Shastrasya Satya Avadharanam. What is the truth which is being told in the Shastra and by the Guru is the truth, the only truth.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and that is so beautiful. And I feel, all this thing about chanchalatvam and all of this, the major obstacle to me, this is what I am discovering, has been the ego.
Correct.
If I have managed to tie the ego, you tie the ego like a little dog, set it outside your house and say, you will remain there. You have misbehaved with me all my life. You will remain there. I am not listening to you. You've created enough destruction. Stay there outside. I'm not letting you in. Okay? Until you learn to behave yourself. So having freed that, the rest is a bit simpler. Now, through the Shastra Jnanam, what you have been describing so far, and am I right in understanding almost all the Upanishads, all our Shastras are only dealing with one thing, about giving us prakasham or light, and the light is light of knowledge. And the knowledge is to remove the ignorance. There is only one ignorance, isn't it?
Correct. Yes, yes.
Yeah, there is only one ignorance, that I am the ahankara, which is wrong. You are, that satyam is the only truth. And all the Upanishads is only dealing with
Absolutely, 100% right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the method which you are dealing with, and Swami Vidyaranya is dealing in the Panchadasi, is correction at the intellectual level, because
Correct.
that's
And
really where the defect is.
Cognition level, yes.
Yeah, that is where the defect is.
Yes.
And Swami Vidyaranya is systematically taking the analysis. And this is the same thing between the observer and the observed, the experiencer and the experienced, the knower and the known, or the kshetra and the kshetrajna, drishya. All of that is exactly the same, isn't it?
Yes.
So systematically and through all the yukti and everything, we are discovering that. Just one intriguing question, and I was intrigued. You said it is the Ishvara who has the switch on, switch off button, to take us from the sleep
of ignorance.
Yeah.
Self-ignorance.
Yeah. So this is, I just wondered if you can explain, how is it Ishvara? Because Ishvara is the whole universal part of the prajna, isn't it?
Yes, yes. See, ultimately what happens is...
As if there was Ishvara in everybody's mind.
Correct. Yes, see, when you go to the depth of this analysis, you always don't end up analyzing your individual body and mind. Okay, in Vidyaranya's style also, after some time he will drop the study of individual body and mind, he will get into the Ishvara, he'll get into the Brahman, he'll get into the totality.
Oh.
Because see, we don't say that this self is Brahman. We don't say that this self is the reality. We say the self is Brahman, and Brahman is a reality.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you have to drop the analysis and inquiry of this self and this body, mind, because after you have stopped the body, mind, you're already in the nature of self, and then the self you have to link it to the totality. The totality, because unless until you get rid of the Jagat Mithyatvam, then only you will have Brahma Satyatvam to be clear.
Yeah.
Brahma Satyatvam alone will not help you. The second leg, the second wing which you have to fly on beyond to the level of Brahman is Jagat Mithyatvam and Atma Satyatvam. These are the two wings. So Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Brahma Satyam means that you accept that there is a reality.
Yeah.
The second wing is, second thing which you have to really do is Jagan Mithyatvam. For Jagan Mithyatvam, you need an on switch on off switch for the Jagat. You see, the Jagat is what? The world is manifesting, unmanifesting, manifesting, unmanifesting. This manifestation and unmanifestation is not under my control of the ego I.
Yeah.
The ego I has no power. It can think a little bit about my son, my daughter, my problems. Of course, it thinks a lot about my problems. But that is the limitation of the human mind.
Yeah.
So you have to understand the Maya Shakti. The Maya Shakti, which is the cause of this entire world. And you have to analyze that Maya Shakti, which is the on-off switch. And that switch belongs to the Saguna Ishvara.
Yeah.
It does not belong to the Nirguna Ishvara. Nirguna Ishvara is the ultimate, absolute Paramarthika Sarupam. But the on-off switch is the Maya principle. And that Maya is under the control of Ishvara. And it is that switch, which is what is our switch for everyday waking, dream, sleep, everyday waking, dream, sleep, because it is not under the controller of the ego I. Ego I is only controller of the external world limited to this body.
Correct.
So that on-off switch has to be with someone who is higher power. And that is what we call it as Ishvara.
Excellent.
That is what we call Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Riddese. You know, there's Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter. Antra Rudhani Maya, as if Ishvara is there in every one of us like a machine.
Yeah.
You know, telling, you know, do this, do this, do this, like a doll being controlled by the by the magician.
Just the last bit, which I loved it, because you know this external conversation and the internal conversation.
This is very beautiful.
That is a very beautiful one, because, and I'm actually, earlier I used to be disturbed. Now I'm enjoying it, because it's you are enjoying it because it is in the Sakshi principle, you know.
Yes.
So the Sakshi itself is watching this dialogue.
That's
and
correct.
He's saying, that's great. You know, you feel like applauding it, you know,
yes.
the dialogue, the external and internal.
Yes.
It's great fun, actually. Earlier it used to upset me, but now
because you didn't have the knowledge of Atma, you didn't have the knowledge of the Sakshi. That Sakshi knowledge has penetrated your mind now. That is why you're enjoying it.
Yeah, so I feel like applauding. I said, well done, well done. Who is winning? You know, so I'm doing this. Who is winning?
It's always the winner is the ego I whenever you're in the waking state, because ego I will always say that see you couldn't control me at all.
True,
you know,
very true.
Ego I will say, you know, I had my day, that's it. But then only when you say that is okay, but only in the waking state, but then who controls you in the sleep state? You're already not there. See,
no,
that is where the Sakshi,
I don't mind it.
Yeah, the Sakshi comes in and bangs, which says, and that comes to you because of the Shruti.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love that about listening to Shruti again and again, and it cannot not do its job. It has to do its job. I'm convinced. Absolutely.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, Chandra?
No, I was thinking that we are always caught up in the world of plurality and not thinking of the self-withenness.
Yes.
So now with the explanation they're given on the self, we will be more concentrated on that area.
Correct, that's right. You see that what Vidyaranya has revealed in the 74th mantra of the chapter 2 is beautiful. He says, just practice that I am that Atma. You know, say 10 times and leave it. Say 10 times and leave it. Let it become a vasana in you. So that is a beautiful tip which has been given by Swami Vidyaranya for all the seekers. Because many of us, 99% of the seekers, we have this big problem. We say, I have listened for 25, 30 years, the same Upanishads, the same, I've listened from so many Swamijis, but why am I not able to hold on to that thought? I'm not able to hold on because I've not practiced holding on to that. I've allowed all of the thoughts to come and bang, 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 and take me away. So this is where Vidyaranya has really caught the central problem of all the students. That's why my hats off to Swami Vidyaranya as a teacher, He's a brilliant teacher. Yeah.
Very good. It gives a very good explanation.
Yes.
And it is very easy to understand now.
Correct. Now you will be able to follow it up. And then you can correct it. That's all. See, ultimately, we should know that this Shruti is only talking about myself. It is not talking about something else in the world. And, it is ultimately you have to apply it to yourself only. I am that. I am that. You see, that I must go deep as consciousness. You should not remain in the outer world with the body or mind or doubts or anything outer. Okay.
They'll solve by itself.
Yes, it should. It will lead to liberation. That is what is called as moksha.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.